The laptop is open. The document is empty. The cursor blinks once, twice, 10 times. You know exactly what you need to do to build your business. You have the entire plan. But the thought of doing it feels like physical pain. The hand does not move toward the keyboard. It moves toward the phone. Not because we are lazy. Not because we lack discipline. Because something has been rewired. And it was rewired on purpose. This is not a story about willpower. Willpower was never the problem. For 100,000 years, the human brain operated on a single reward economy. Effort, then reward. In that order. Hunt, eat, build, and harvest. Then receive. The nervous system was calibrated for delay. Boredom was not a flaw in that system. Boredom was the resting state. Then, in the span of 1 decade, the economy of attention was rebuilt from zero. Not by accident. By design. Engineers, behavioral scientists, and product teams built systems whose entire function was to compress the gap between craving and reward down to nothing. 0 seconds. One swipe. This is not a metaphor. The reward circuitry, once reserved for food, for safety, for tribe, has been recalibrated to fire for content. We call it a feed. It is closer to a feeding tube. Here is the mechanism. A short-form video delivers a novel stimulus every second and a half. New face, new sound, new cut. The dopaminergic system does not respond to reward. It responds to the anticipation of reward, the uncertainty of what comes next. A feed is uncertainty manufactured infinitely at zero cost. Now compare that to a business plan. Compare that to a book. A business does not deliver a new stimulus every 90 seconds. A business delivers silence, confusion, a blank spreadsheet, a client who does not reply. To a mind recalibrated for constant novelty, this silence does not register as boring. It registers as pain. Real, physical, somatic pain. This is why the business plan sits untouched for 6 months. This is why you build a flawless system on a Sunday night, only to abandon it by Wednesday. Because a system requires delay. And your nervous system has been trained to treat any gap longer than a few seconds as a threat to escape. We built rockets that required years of unglamorous engineering. We built companies that took a decade of unseen labor. The average attention span, measured in seconds, is lower now than at any point in recorded history. And the men who built those rockets, those companies, they built them inside long, silent, unstimulating rooms. This is the part the algorithm will never tell us. Boredom is not empty time. Boredom is the precondition for depth. Every insight that has ever mattered, every equation, every strategy, every piece of real work arrived after the mind was forced to sit in a room with nothing. Not a notification. Not a new tab. Nothing. The philosophers understood this before neuroscience had a name for it. In 1670, Blaise Pascal wrote, "All of humanity's problems stem from man's inability to sit quietly in a room alone." He did not know about the phone. He was describing the exact same war. Right now, the ability to sit with an unsolved problem, with no stimulus, no escape, no relief, is disappearing. Which means the few who retain it hold something close to an unfair advantage. Not intelligence. Not talent. Tolerance. The tolerance for the low hum of nothing happening. The edge of the next decade will not belong to the most informed man in the room. It will belong to the most bored one. The one who can stay in the silence long enough for the real work to begin. So here is the cold part. We cannot think our way out of this. We cannot decide once to concentrate and expect the recalibration to reverse itself. The threshold has to be rebuilt the same way it was broken. Through repetition. Which means removing the escape hatch before the discomfort arrives. Sitting with a blank page for 20 minutes, phone in another room. Walking without audio in the ears. Waiting in a line and doing nothing but waiting. Small doses of engineered nothing. Administered on purpose. Repeated daily. Until the mind remembers what it was built to tolerate. This was never a discipline problem. It is an engineered war for the one resource every system, every platform, every product wants from us. Our attention. The system does not need us to fail. It only needs us to reach for the phone one more time than we reach for the work. The choice then is small. It repeats every day in seconds, not years. Covert mind. One new framework every week.